The corporate world is for us a powerful amplifier. It has resources. It has reach. It has influence. When a company commits to LGBTQIA plus inclusion, it doesn't just impact its employees. It sends a message to its clients, partners, and the broader public. It also forces systems to evolve.
You're listening to Drawing on Hope, and I'm your host, Albert Orr. In this episode, we talk to Ivan Garong, a dedicated advocate of mental health, psychological safety, and diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. As a board member of the Philippine Financial and Inter-Industry Pride, he strives to promote a truly supportive and inclusive environment within corporate workplaces. Before we jump into the conversation, click the like, subscribe, and follow buttons. It helps others find our show and be part of this movement for hope.
Ivan Garong, an LGBTQIA plus advocate and currently corporate secretary and one of the trustees of Philippine Financial and Inter-Industry Pride. Navigating the corporate world as a career professional has been a journey for both resilience and awakening. So early in my career, I learned how to adjust, self-edit, and sometimes even erase a part of my identity just to fit in. I was too scared to let everyone know that I'm truly gay, even though my actions are very finesse and such. I remember when I got hired, and I can hear people in the hallway murmuring or talking about, "Uy, that's the new gay I think from that department." So, um, I was too embarrassed to be true to myself. I'm usually the victim of microaggressions in the workplace. And I the jokes, it was true jokes, number one. The usual jokes that I receive, guwapo ka sana pero bakla ka lang.
Ivan, jargon check lang. What do you mean when you say microaggressions for people who might not be familiar with what that is and what that looks like?
Okay, so microaggressions are usually unintended remarks that is anchored on certain biases on how they perceive the person. So they didn't mean anything harm, but one way or another, they lack education, they lack awareness. So yung mga sinasabi nila na hindi na lang alam nila na nakakasakit pala, it has an impact to the person who's receiving the feedback or remark. Yeah.
So you shared that example of
Uh-huh.
you'd be handsome if you weren't gay. Gwapo,
Yeah.
gwapo ka sana.
Well,
What are some of the other examples that you could share?
Number one, if it was the jokes that went unchecked, I also see that people intend to make assumptions made during meetings or huddles that would pertain to sexual orientation, and sometimes silence is usually being given for someone who just came out. They don't welcome the person. They didn't see the bravery of that person when they came out when it comes to. So this those types of moments may seem small, but they accumulate. And then there were the big ones when someone left because they didn't feel safe, or when policies technically failed to protect LGBTQIA plus employees. Those moments made it clear that status quo wasn't neutral; it was exclusionary. So that has been my goal, to make everyone feel that they belong.
And now you're doing that through PFIP. Tell me, what is PFIP all about then?
Okay, so PFIP, we're a typical organization to makes everyone know how to be the reason that they feel they belong. So no one intends to be excluded, regardless of who you are and what you do in life, like, especially regardless of your job. Majority of the Filipinos, they see the workplaces where we spend majority of our time, working time per se, and it's also where we expected to leave things at the door. So PFIP believes that no one should have to choose between their livelihood and their identity. So workplaces are also unique levers for change. When we see that when company shifts, they influence families, industries, and the entire community. Because uh, I usually coin it on the term when we translate the word work to Tagalog, which is hanap buhay, that's our means of living, and that's how we also associate ourselves more. Whenever we introduce ourselves, we enter that, "Hi, I'm Ivan. I'm a communications and marketing director." So we always start our persona at work to our total well-being, and if we will exclude a big part of our identity, it will be uh, a disservice to ourselves. So that's the core of PFIP, to educate companies, especially the leaders in the companies per se, to know how to be accepting of people working for them. Because there's a direct correlation in various research literatures that say that if you're fully accepted at work, you have high productivity. Thus, it also gives a good returns for the company per se.
There's a lot of possible entry points when it comes to LGBT advocacy, right? You can
Uh-huh.
talk about it from the point of view of policy, education, mental
Uh-huh.
health. PFIP chose the workplace as your
Uh-huh.
entry point. And I can hear from you just now some of the reasons why that's very important. We spend majority of our time
Mhm.
there
Like
at work.
2/3, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Oo.
Mhm.
But you also point out other things, like where the company goes, the culture tends to follow, right? You
Uh-huh.
also
Uh-huh.
say it's good for business. Can you tell me a bit more about these different strands so we can have a better understanding?
Okay, I see. So we the corporate world is for us a powerful amplifier. It has resources, it has reach, it has influence. When a company commits to LGBTQIA plus inclusion, it doesn't just impact its employees, it sends a message to its clients, partners, and the broader public. It also forces it also forces systems to evolve, like
Mm,
from HR policies even to marketing strategies. It becomes a ripple that touches policy, education, and also mental health, as you have mentioned. um,
yeah.
I go back to the translation of the word work in Tagalog, which is hanap buhay. uh, all of us wanted to work because we would like to provide for our own selves, for our family. And if we are in a place wherein we are earning money, but we don't feel that we belong to that group, to that company, it also detaches ourselves from our goal to provide more. The work becomes more dragging, and it also conveys disengagement. So that's also one of the factors why people also leave their own company if they don't feel that they belong.
So I see how that benefits the LGBT community and even
Mhm.
the
Yep.
culture and society
Generic
as a
as well,
whole,
not
right?
just, yeah,
Yeah.
correct, correct. Not just to the
It
LGBTQIA plus
yeah, it
community, but
benefits
everyone.
everyone. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
But what's in it for a corporation to go through that change? What's in it for them? What do they gain?
Yeah. If we go back to the way we perceive work from both
Mm,
Western and local perspective, no, at at first work has seemed to be our means of living, but
yeah.
nowadays we should majority of people right now see work as we're in it's an avenue for them of their purpose in life. So it also affects on how we contribute to the community per se. Now, if corporation would see that observing inclusion is one way for them to be seen as a good employer of choice, when you would attract more talents and you develop more talents regardless of their own background, it conveys that you're observing good business. So from an entrepreneur's standpoint or from a business owner's standpoint, you wanted the best for your business, and it means good business if you're talking about inclusion.
I can
Uh-huh.
imagine if you're talking about, I'm a company that wants to hire the best talents,
Correct, correct.
I would want to be as diverse as possible. Because if, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I'll just keep my hiring profile to dapat lalaki, heterosexual,
Mm-hmm.
parang there's a huge percentage of the human population that you're not including. But is it just a matter of talent and retention, or is there also benefit to the bottom line, or I don't know?
It benefits everyone. Again, when we talk about inclusion, you are not excluding any particular group in the company. You're helping the business from financial standpoint, from people perspective, from how you look for investors. Investors, if you're going to look for investors, people who would like to see their money to certain corporations, they like to see company owners who run the business well and how it translates to ESG, and then the S part on ESG, or environmental, social, and government, the social part, it also pertains to how you observe a dynamic workforce wherein you are very diverse and you observe diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So it guides the business owners that in order for your business to last, you should observe good business at all. So operations wise, principles wise, it should be aligned. And this is one of many strands on how you observe good business, to say that I'm doing my business well because I treat my people right. Especially if you're into, if you're a service company or a professional firm, you really need to take care of your own people.
But there's also the performance aspect of it, right? If I can retain these good talents because it's a welcoming workplace, then it's cheaper for me in the long run kaysa yung I keep having to hire and onboard new talent.
Uh-huh.
And the more people know that this is the kind of company we are inside out, I can imagine that only also benefits the bottom line as well, right?
Correct. And then another good thing of having a diverse workforce, you intend to be more innovative because you're getting more ideas from different people. It helps you to understand more, especially if you have product output. You want to realize how your product can relate to the masses. If you're very homogeneous lang yung workforce mo, it will be difficult. Isang segment lang yan ng market yung ikikater mo.
Yeah.
But if it's a very diverse, it runs for all. It runs for everyone. Thus, it would last longer and they will see the value of it. Yeah.
I can really see what you meant earlier, that the LGBT advocacy really goes beyond just that community and benefits everyone else. Because that also sounds like an argument not just for having a diverse gender in the populace, but diverse generational hires, di ba? You
Mm-hmm.
hire old people, you hire young people, even various disabilities as well. And if you're set up for these things, I think that really stands to benefit the business. Would
Mm-hmm.
that be an accurate way of thinking about it?
Yeah. Another thing that we would like to promote in PFIP is not just on LGBT workplace inclusion alone, but also the intersectionality of various persona in the workplace. Like, for example, an LGBT individual can also have struggles when it comes to mental health.
Right.
And also they can also be PWDs. So how employees can also amplify the care that they would like to have in the workplace. So that's something that we are very passionate also in the industry, educating people that before, when they talk about diversity inclusion, there's a call to action for belongingness nowadays because it transcends all. So GS, no, it helps you to understand that it's not just on the different spectrum or different persona of the workforce that you need to understand. What do they need in order for them to feel that they belong? Because having the sense of belonging can enable them to speak freely. If they're able to speak freely, they can give you great ideas. And the criticality of this matter is that corporation nowadays should also be open and should have a strong commitment in building inclusive leaders because they will be the ones who gonna orchestrate everything, right? On how those ideas form into product, to strategies, then to profit. And from another perspective, I would like to share to everyone and to you, Albert, is that leaders are the ones who shaping the culture. Leaders, whenever how they treat their teammates, right, creates culture. 'di ba? Yung part na yun, how they talk, how they deliver good and bad messages, how they assign tasks, how they brainstorm. So if you have leaders who are not well trained, that's how I'm gonna put it into terms. So not well trained, but not so bad, di ba? Not well trained, no? But by to become more inclusive, they create factions. And those factions, one way or another, would lead. Those people belong to that faction will leave the company because they don't feel that they belong. Right.
What does that mean na we're shifting from talking about just diversity, tapos ngayon inclusion, and then to belonging? Like, what are the, I guess, nuances and differences and
Okay. We cannot exclude one from the other because let me put it in the term in this perspective. Diversity is being invited to the meeting.
okay.
Yeah, inclusion is having your input genuinely considered in that meeting. Belonging is knowing you can speak your truth without fear. And it's not just about counting people, it's about making people count. So that shift requires culture. You know, it's not just compliance, how you're observing the NIB. So in that simple analogy, you can observe if you're really practicing DNIB and having stress on belonging, because belonging is the end goal, di ba?
So, what does that look like then? Like being able to accomplish these three things. What does it look like in real life? And not just like policies, but in
Mhm.
practice. Can you share with us more examples like that meeting scenario you shared?
Um, okay. For example, employees feel free to speak in the first person. It's not just sabi kasi ni ganyan, pero kanilang idea yon, di ba?
Okay.
Ang madalas yan in
I've been
Filipino
to meetings
workplace.
like that. Yeah.
Correct, correct.
Uh,
They use the second person, even third person perspective in order for them not to be associated with the idea, because if ever that will be rejected, they feel they don't belong to that
yung
meeting, di
rinig ko
ba?
ganito ganyan, I heard na
Oo,
ganito
correct,
ganyan.
correct,
Yeah, yeah.
correct. But actually that's their idea.
Yeah.
That's their ika nga, that's the way that sorry, that's how they see themselves to be more safe in
Okay.
giving idea, because they are prone to be their ideas to be criticized, thus their ideas are really associated to themselves. So it looks like the transition, leave being granted without hesitation. So yun yung goal natin. Pronouns are also being respected without any questions. For example, if I see myself as non-binary, my pronouns are they, them, di ba? So how for other leaders, if they are not well educated about DNIB, especially in gender and in the preferred pronouns, right? No? They intend to exclude. I don't want to talk to them because I don't know how to address them because of different pronouns. And the goal is that leaders would listen with intent, because that drives kasi uh, that that sense of belonging. You have the intent to understand the person that you're talking to. For me, I see that as being embedded in every day, so that whenever who gets promoted or invited to be part of the boardroom, or even celebrated by their own wins, it's because of their contribution to the company. It's not being run with certain biases per se. And we would like to be heard in those spaces. That's why work and those spaces are in the workplace.
The way you're talking about it, it's really going beyond just having a token
Uh-huh.
person representing a particular sector. Pero it's me being recognized as an
Uh-huh.
individual human with a
Correct, correct.
point of view and a value I can contribute, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I think tokenism is just, well, we just have someone like may one female leader tayo, one guy leader,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's a label, not a person. Whereas what you're describing is really, it sounds like it's honoring the person in all their dimensionality and complexity.
Well, I see it this way. There's visibility and there is tokenism. So how should
Okay.
we like you should be the authentic one for your
Yeah.
company to observe, diba? We are promoters of excluding tokenism in the company because it's very superficial in
Yeah.
nature if you're observing that, right? So seeing someone like myself in leadership sends a powerful message because I'm gay. I'm out
Okay.
gay. And it says that every people like him they belong or you belong here. But visibility must come with agency. How what is agency? So it's not about putting LGBTQIA plus in certain phases in front of the
Yeah.
camera during Pride, lalo especially during this Pride one. But it's also investing in their growth. You're helping them to make them feel and also to enrich the skills in order for them to really orchestrate the team well. So, and also hearing perspective year round about LGBTQIA plus is critical, not just on Pride Month now, and allowing them to lead authentically. So, um, when we talk about authenticity, it's not just about I talk whatever I wanted to say. I mean, I whatever I think, I
No
talk.
filter.
No filter. It's not like that. When we talk about authenticity, it relates to responsibility. It also emphasizes on you're putting across a message when you're coming in with pure intention. It's not with there's a hidden agenda or whatsoever. You're also being more empathic to others, because again, we wanted to have inclusive and empathy leaders, no? So yung mga types of leaders na yon really enhances authenticity in the workplace. I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate that my leaders, past and present, really exude authenticity, and they're also leaders who have empathy because they understand where I'm coming from, and not just me, but everyone who they work with. No, so and they don't use the word I work for you. I work with you alongside with you, and that's very empowering. And is for the longest time the LGBTQIA plus community globally has been seen as marginalized, diba? And in the Philippines, we still don't have that national law that protects us. So we don't want to wait for that national law to protect us. We educate corporations on how to be more inclusive, not just for the sake of policies, practices, but also from benefit standpoint. No, and we're glad that that's been significantly increasing developments in those areas.
So, what do you then say to companies and corporations who might feel like, or who might say, no, we're not ready for this yet?
Mm,
Like, what
okay,
would
okay,
PFIP, or what would your response be then?
okay. And that's the usual question, especially during Pride Month. I'm not ready for this, no. So I'm not ready for giving those benefits and the like. So come to think of
Yeah.
it, inclusion isn't about being ready. It's also being responsible. Every day we delay is another day someone hides, suffers, or leaves. Always remember that. Inclusion doesn't exclude. Creating space for one group doesn't take away from the other. So it's a standard that everyone deserves to be feel seen, safe, and supported. So for those people who are seeing that I just focus on this particular set of workforce, but not on the LGBT ones. Always remember when we talk about inclusion, it should be highlighted that it's a responsibility that you if involve everyone. So from the way you think, the way you write policies, the way you lead, diba? At the end of the day, when you sleep, you ensure that I lead well because I am very inclusive.
As someone like me, for example, who's cisgender, hetero,
Mm,
very much not part of the minority, why should this advocacy matter?
mhm. Actually, this advocacy is not just for LGBTQIA plus community alone. We're very tired to preach within our own choir now. So, and I'll put it whenever I talk to cisgender males or cisgender people like you, um, I put it into this perspective. Because of fairness, respect, and dignity, it shouldn't be conditional, diba? We all benefit from inclusive environments. As I've mentioned earlier, there are certain practices in inclusion that promotes innovation, diba?
Yeah.
And when we talk about belonging, it promotes trust. At the end of the day, when you're trusting with everyone, you feel safe. Your well-being is very important. Your well-being also is being promoted in the company and in your community. So if one group can be marginalized today, any group can be tomorrow. So for cisgender people, standing up for LGBTQIA plus rights means standing up for human rights, and that's one way for you to become an ally for LGBTQIA plus. Yeah, standing up for us. Yeah.
I understand you're trying to reach out outside of the choir, right?
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And bring in allies into the
Correct.
circle. What can we contribute? What role can allyship play in making that change happen?
Okay. If you've seen someone, either friends or family, or even strangers, being mocked because of their soji-esque, no? um, kinukutya dahil bakla. You help us defend ourselves. I mean, you also defend us. You talk to that person respectfully, that you don't need to judge or criticize that person because we don't know where they're coming from. You don't know how hard for them to be themselves. Uh, as what I would like it to to put into words, like our own skin, there's so much prejudice, diba? So, having you as a cisgender person helping us to defend ourselves and standing up for us,
Right.
it means a lot. And that's a power of allyship. And on the other hand, allyship is not just about support, it's about action. And using privilege to amplify voices like ours shifts culture. So it's not just on the workplace per se, even in your own community. In many cases, change happens not just because an LGBTQIA plus person speaks up, but someone in power listens and acts. And again, for people who are cisgender, you are not marginalized. You have that power. Whenever I speak to people in power in corporations or have high influences, they're the ones who help pushing through for equal benefits. And they're
Right.
cisgender because they really wanted to prove that the way they run things is bounded for goodness and kindness, diba?
So
So
then
yeah.
here's maybe my pushback, right? And
Mhm.
well, sige, maybe not pushback, but maybe like just where my head takes me when you
Mhm.
talk about where allies can contribute. Um, and so there's two thoughts that came to mind.
Mhm.
One is, but I don't want to be presumptuous because it's not my story to tell. These are not my lived experiences. So I don't know what I don't know, which I guess is
Mhm.
the first. And
Correct.
then the second, even with my good intentions, I might not know what language to use
Mm.
to defend or speak up for for this community that I'm not necessarily part of or living through. Right? So what do you then say to that?
Okay. Um, each individual, regardless of sexual orientation, gender identification, expression, and sex characteristics, we have our own life experiences and it varies. It's not one size fits all. But one thing is for sure. We experience being ridiculed, being embarrassed, being always hiding our true self. So for you who always there seeing it's happening, that people are not just being mocked, but people intend to be governed by their own biases, speaking up for people like the LGBT ones like myself would help us to really see that we have an ally in you. Um, and knowing by the fact that you yourself is acting with kindness makes you a good person. It defines your character. And when we talk about a person's character, you don't intend that someone's being mocked in front of you. You just tolerate it, right? And in that particular sense, your character defines who you are. If you're
Right.
tolerating or you're speaking up for what is right. So you help us focus on the act of being good because we have experienced such prejudice, such not so good circumstances in life. If you can only hear people from different LGBTQIA plus spectrum, they some of their families have disowned them. They were living in the streets. It helps you to really see that those ripple effect means that inclusion is not just an initiative; it's a value. So from a corporation perspective, when companies stop treating it like a checkbox and start embedding it into their own decision making, things shift, diba? In different parts of the world right now, there is a high sense of conservatism being observed, and some of the corporations are obliged to follow certain regulations in order for them not to be violated or to be fined, no, to be the very least. So if you're promoting fairness, and that's your very core, and you're promoting trust, because that's the very foundation of having a good relationship. Now, I did be personal and professional, diba? It helps you more to know that you're not governed by your own bias. You understand your biases, thus you have less unconscious bias. You intend to promote psychological safety, thus you have a very good workforce. You're very welcoming about it.
I want to latch on to that statement you said earlier about how allyship is action, right? And
Mhm, mhm,
diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, DEIB is a value. If I were someone who's listening or watching this and wants to take up the banner and push for
mhm,
change in their own workplaces, maybe they are in um, middle manager leadership position, maybe they're just starting out in their career. But if they're part of a company, um, where would be a good place to begin to help make that change happen?
Number one, start by listening. Talk to your LGBTQIA plus colleagues. When I moved from a global company to a locally established Filipino firm, I've experienced that during lunch breaks, people intend to congregate, share their lunches, di ba? And we talk about life. And that's where curiosity sparked based on my experience. They asked me about how do you intend to address if a person is an LGBT, if someone is queer, and from that point, you will grab that opportunity to educate people around you. That's for the LGBT people. Now, for cisgender ones, and those who are listening to our podcast right now, wear your corporate hat. Number one, refer to your company policies or create or join an employees resource group or employee club, no, especially focusing on diversity, inclusion and equity and belonging. No? And from that point, once you acknowledge and see the value of it, it also shapes your who you are as a person. And you don't need a title to be a change maker. Just the courage to care and also the willingness to act consistently. I always like the saying that for you to be remembered by someone else, it's not just about the title or what you have given to them, but because on how you treat them. So be that person. Be the reason someone feels they belong. If you're a leader, it defines your leadership, and if you're a business owner, that defines your legacy in the industry.
I love that. I also love how you're essentially sharing that kindness doesn't need to wait for a company
Correct.
policy, but that just as crucially, it's not for any single person to come in with a box of solutions to present, but that listening is just as
Mhm.
big a part of that journey, right?
Mhm,
And
correct,
I like
correct.
it because it makes the change. I think it hammers home the notion that and reality that change is not one size fits all. It's not a step by step process, parang recipe that you just follow.
Correct. correct.
but that it is a collaborative and
Mm-hmm.
co-creative process that involves everyone, both allies and
Mm-hmm.
the community as well.
Yeah. I go back to one of the great programs of PFIP. We have also seen that some of our member companies, whenever they have a good program, but if it doesn't resonating to their top leaders, those programs are useless. That is the reason why we're very eager to educate the C levels in the boardroom to talk about what makes a good business, what you can do in order for you to help your LGBTQIA plus employees that they really belong and then they contribute and they're essential in your workforce. So we that education changes the perspective. It strengthens your mindset in order for you to have a great leadership trust, and also it promotes your signature, your leadership signature, your brand, diba? Your brand. And
How you're known by people, how you known
correct,
to people.
correct. And we reach that certain age, no, and that's a power uh, of of people that we have worked with throughout the past and up to present. No, when they realize that they really need to understand the NIB, they do reverse mentoring. They understand more to different generations in the workplace. And I myself, I'm an advocate of dialogic organizational development. The power of dialogues in order for you to shape one's culture, especially if you're a leader. Again, you don't need the title to make change, diba?
Since you mentioned PFIP's programs, Ivan, how can people learn more about the work you do at PFIP and how can they contribute to that as well?
You can Google us at pfip.com.ph. You will see various programs of our great organization. We're now composed of 107 member companies, both multinational and locally established firms in the Philippines who are really anchored to LGBT workplace inclusion. Number one, we train everyone in the company, the member companies, to have trainers focusing on sexual orientation, gender identification, expression, and sex characteristics. We also educate everyone about the trans community by having what is trans 101, and how to train if you have trans people in the workplace or cisgender people who would like to talk about the importance of trans people in the workplace as one avenue to say that your workforce is a diverse one, di ba? Also, we do have our yearly Leader Lab Live. So this is for all members of the workforce, either part of the LGBT or not, to how to develop their sense of inclusivity. We have the Pride Summit every June in order for you to know more about what's the latest trends in the Philippines. Where are we in terms of workplace inclusion when it comes to LGBTQI plus? How can we help both the private sector and the government in order to promote inclusive Philippines in absence of the national law? And also we have Rainbow Youth Academy scholarship. This is for the LGBTQIA plus youth. We provide stipend on the last semester of their collegiate years. And then we provide professional development programs because we understand that the future of LGBT, we need to influence it as early as possible in order for them to know how to navigate in the workforce once they entered it.
Right.
I mean, this is a program very close to my heart because when I was starting, I don't know how to navigate the workforce. Like, should I be out? Like, and we provide them or pair them with mentors or also self-declared LGBT, and then they have we call them mega mentors, wherein well known in the industry, and they talk about their journey and how it contributes to their life experiences to the upcoming LGBTQI place professional who are entering the work sorry LGBTQIA plus students who are entering the workforce soon. So those are the year long program. and Bahagari Awards. Sorry, Bahagari Awards. We have an event wherein we honor those who have contributed much to the LGBT workplace inclusion, either within the various sectors, public or private, and also within our member companies as well. Mhm. So we're a community of practice.
Yeah, and you seem to already have recognized and created these
Correct,
interventions at various stages of that journey, from
correct,
the
correct,
start of career all the way to like the culture shift in the corporation.
correct.
So
And the thought leadership, entering the workforce up to you're the one doing the thought leadership.
yeah. All right, so we're winding down with this episode. And because we're a show called Drawing on Hope, Ivan, I know you already know what's coming up. We wanted to put that into practice and invite you to draw your vision of what it would look like if workplace inclusion like truly lives up to that potential in the Philippines. So we ask you to draw a symbol or a drawing that can
Correct,
represent
correct.
that. What do you have for us, Ivan?
Um, I I've drawn an equal sign with a heart in the middle. That equal sign has different strands of colors, representing various or diverse races, classes, gender in the workplace, and it has because we're still in the infancy stage of having a uh, an equal workforce. Uh, and I do hope that in my lifetime, no, in our lifetime, we will have the social equality bill being approved by the government. So
Right.
that's how that's what I have drawn. No? That symbol, equal sign and a heart in the middle with different strands of colors.
Right. Thank you so much. We're glad to have had this conversation with you, Ivan. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Albert, and thank you everyone for tuning in. Oh, again, um, my final message: be the reason someone feels they belong. Thank you.
Hey, salamat.
That's it for this episode of Drawing on Hope. A big thank you to Ivan Garong for sharing their story and vision for a better tomorrow. If you found this conversation meaningful, share it with someone who could use a little hope and inspiration. And if you want to hear more stories of changemakers working to build a better tomorrow, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It helps others find the show. Drawing on Hope is a podcast by Pushpin, a social impact design agency that works as a partner in change for organizations working to build a better world. Follow us at Pushpin Visuals on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, or visit www.pushpinvisuals.com. As always, keep drawing on hope and keep building a better world. We'll see you next time.